right, welcome, guys. This is Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to go from bland to industry leading brand. All right, today we have a phenomenal show for you with another phenomenal guest. Today is all about healing. Okay, guys, I want you to write that down. If you have your notepad and your pens, I want you to write down the word healing. Okay, and if you're now coming in, also write it down in the chat, whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. Let us know where you're listening in from. And also, also put down where are you from. So let us know where you're from in the chat. All right. So without further ado, I would like to bring on my special guest. I'm gonna allow her to introduce herself. So Mr. B, when you're ready, let's bring her out when you're ready. All right, phenomenal morning.
Hi,
Charmaine, what's up?
Dean.
How
All
you
is
feeling?
well. All is well. How are you?
Absolutely amazing. No complaints. All right.
Awesome.
So guys, so Charmaine is actually here today to inspire us. Now, this is gonna be super interesting because it's actually the holidays, right? So happy holidays to everybody viewing, right? And the funny thing, Charmaine, is during the holidays, everybody's always stuffing their faces with all types of food, right? So I'm very, very interested in this particular episode to see, what you're gonna share with us. But before I even get into that, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Charmaine Q. Harrison, and I'm just a woman that went from a victim to a super survivor when all the odds were stacked up against me since birth. I always say that my trauma started literally the day I came out of the womb, but we all have a story. So today I am a mother, I'm a military Army veteran, and I am a holistic health coach, and I specialize in different medicinal herbs. I grew up in the deep south, and you don't have to be raised on fried fish and grits to know that that was a time where you literally ate what was or what was not put on the dinner table. So I know we can relate to that. You're going to eat what is on the dinner table, right? Or what is not. But my qualifications are being able to help free my health, my own health from hostage when I was told by many medical professionals, right, that that was impossible. What I did was impossible, and I'll get more into that. But today, my goal is to raise the self awareness to understand that you literally can create your own healthy reality. You can change the narrative when it comes to your health in spite of your circumstances.
Wow. Guys, I want you to put some flames in the chat for Charmaine if you're viewing this. Quick shout out to Mo's Motivation Monday. Shout out to my brother Mo listening from St. Kitts, excuse me, Caribbean. So this is gonna be super interesting, Charmaine, because I know, like myself, many of us have different illnesses that are just, I guess, generational, right? So when we talk about breaking generational curses, guys, we also have to think about the generational impact or health impact that our family may have on us, right? So I'm very, very curious to get into that. And we will be after this short break. Okay, guys, so stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of Charmaine Q. Harrison. This is Breakfast with the Brand. All right, guys, welcome back. This is Breakfast with the Brand. Quick shout out to everybody viewing. Phenomenal morning, wherever you're viewing this around the world. I see some of my Caribbean people viewing today. I want to say a quick shout out to you. I have with me today Miss Charmaine Q. Harrison. So, Charmaine, I'm ready to get started. I'm ready to get started. So, Mr. B, let's bring Charmaine out. Let's get a few questions rolling, guys. Again, this is live, so if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. So Charmaine, let's get started. I have a couple questions here, and I have to admit, I'm taking down my notes right there. I have my pen, my paper. So guys, I highly recommend that you become students right now because this is gonna be very very interesting. So Charmaine, just so that we know what you do,
Mhm.
when it comes to the way that you view health, how is it different from everybody else? So we have the traditional medical route, right?
Right.
But from what I understand, what you do is a little bit different, correct?
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit more about that, if you don't mind.
Okay. Um, and so in order for people to really understand, I want to share a quick story, okay? Is that okay?
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Absolutely. Okay, so is this a story real quick about how I personally went from dealing into healing, that's what I call it, and how I naturally took back control of my mind and my body and my life, and how you're able to do the same. So for the first 28 years, my body literally depended on pharmaceutical medications to survive. Okay. And so for the first 28 years of surviving through sickness, I was unknowingly digging myself a slow grave. And so, what I was dealing with was an autoimmune condition, actually, multiple autoimmune conditions at the time that was said that was incurable. You know, doctors were saying, oh, it's incurable because the cells were attacking my body. And I came to realize that a majority of people that are suffering from other autoimmune conditions are just being told, oh, you have to deal with it. This is something that you have to live with. And that's exactly what I was told. But you see, one day when I was sitting in the tub, my skin was 90% covered in pigmentation. My hair was falling out in patches. I had a bald spot, and my body was itching and bleeding and burning. And that's what this particular autoimmune condition that I had called lichen planus brought on to me. But in that moment, I realized that the only thing attacking my body was me. And that was because I was the one that lacked self discipline. I was the one that lacked self love. I was the one that lacked that self worth. And all the choices that I was making in my life led me down a path to self sabotage, which we do a lot. So I made a choice that I no longer wanted to just deal like I was being told. I decided that, I would not only change my eating habits, but first I had to change what was eating me up on the inside. And so what was eating me up on the inside was trauma. Trauma sits in our body. So I had to begin to to heal from that past trauma. And I had to begin to heal from stress. And I had to begin to have different conversations with myself that didn't involve self-medicating. So that involved also me understanding that I had to remove environmentally, holistically remove toxic people from my life, and no
Wow.
longer draw boundaries to accommodate
Yes.
people's disrespect.
Right. Hold on, Charmaine. Let me stop you right there because you said a lot there. Guys, I want you to put some flames in the chat, in the comments. If you're enjoying this so far, I'm learning a lot. So Charmaine, you put a lot there wrapped up into one, and I want to sort of break down what you just said. Now we're talking about health, just so that everybody here, okay? And then Charmaine is talking about removing toxic people from your life. I also heard you mention that the only thing attacking your body was you. Can you break that down? Like, what do you mean by that? The only thing, because remember, you're talking about, just so everybody knows, she's talking about a disease, right? A skin disease, right?
Yes.
Or is it more than that? Right.
Yes,
So
it was a skin disease at the time.
great. So this stuff is eating you up. It's eating up your cells based on what you're saying. But then you're also saying that the only person that was attacking you was you. So could you break that down?
Absolutely. So a lot of the times, we're not taking self accountability for our conditions that we have if we get diagnosed with something. So a lot of people, for example, they go to the doctor. You go to the doctor. You met the doctor 5 minutes ago, right? But what you're doing is you're telling them what you want them to know and expecting them to fix it instantly without knowing the truth about your day-to-day habits. So for me, my decisions at that time kept me where I was at with my health, not my circumstances. It was
Mm.
my choices, my decision. So at first I had to the first step for me was taking a self accountability and being transparent and listening to my body. So if you're drinking every day, alcohol every day, you're not going to go and tell the doctor that. You're going to say, "Oh, I drink occasionally, once every blue moon." Most people, that's what they do. And so you want to get to a space where you can actually be honest with yourself. And that's the first step. That's where it starts, a self accountability. What are you eating? What are you drinking? Are you a smoker? Things like that. You have to just be honest with yourself.
Wow, that is so interesting. Um, I want to ask you, and I want the people that are viewing to put a number one in the chat if you have toxic people in your life, or if you've ever experienced what it's like to have toxicity in the form of people. So, Charmaine, you help people to remove toxicity from the body. But what I'm hearing you saying is that toxicity exists in different forms. And
Absolutely.
unfortunately, sometimes it's your next door neighbor, guys. Put a number one in the chat if you've ever experienced toxicity from another individual, or if you've known that this person is toxic, but for whatever reason you haven't had the discipline and the self accountability to remove that toxicity in that form in your life. So, Charmaine, I want to know, and I'm sure everybody here wants to know, how does toxicity in the form of people relate to our body's health?
So one of the things when I was on the road to taking, my power back with my health naturally, that didn't involve the diets and the pharmaceutical drugs, but it did involve different things like medicinal herbs and holistic practices. So one of the things I realized was that growing up, I endured a lot of trauma. And a lot of people endure a lot of trauma because we all have a story, but that stuff sits in our bodies. Literally, it physically can make us sick. So when we start to engage in things like, getting on the phone, you know, for 2, 3 hours talking to a friend or somebody, and you just talking about negative things or gossiping, that energy transfers. A lot of times we don't realize that energy can transfer. And so by the time you get off the phone, you have an attitude and you fussing at your kids. When you first got on the phone, you were okay. So that's one way that energy can transfer. Another thing is unhealed trauma. When you go through abuse and things like that in your life, that sits in the body. A lot of times we may sweep that under the rug or say, or push it in the back of our mind, like, oh, that didn't exist, it didn't happen. Or, we say we healed from it, but in our reality, we're being triggered left and right as we, get older and life events are happening. So if you don't actually go in and realize that self-awareness piece, that knowing those triggers and getting the professional help that you need, that will accumulate later over time into different illnesses in the body.
Wow. You know, while you were speaking, what was going through my mind is that I think we need to redefine what it means to diet. So a lot of us believe, and please put a yes if that's you. A lot of us believe that dieting is all about food. But what about the mental diet? What about the spiritual diet? I heard you mention the transfer of energy and disease. And I want you to speak a little bit about that because in fact one of my brothers, his name is 19 Keys, he often says, what you do frequently becomes your frequency. So what you do frequently becomes your frequency. And what I hear you talking about are I guess, some of the beliefs, some of the habits that negatively impact our health. So talk more about how disease, how negative energy manifests as disease in the body.
Absolutely. So, one of the things that I can remember about when I was serving in the military is very high stress, right? Like you're waking up 3 o'clock in the morning, you're going on 10-mile runs, you're immediately after that, you're going to work. And so, one of the things with my habits at that time, I had not realized that, first of all, I'm getting up with an attitude instantly. I'm like, dang, it's 3 o'clock and I'm sick of this, right? So, already have an attitude off top, which that affects the body. But when we do things in life, we're just surviving. We don't realize what we're doing. And so I got up, I had an attitude. What's the first thing I did? I threw on my clothes, I got in the car, I turned on low vibrational music, okay? Music that was just angry and just because it reflecting how I felt at the time. And so number one, I have an attitude. I'm turning on music. I'm driving, to work. And then on top of that, I'm giving my energy to everyone all day. I'm helping, I'm serving, things like that. However, I had a bad attitude, along with it. And so throughout the day, what ends up happening is we intend to emotionally eat off of how we feel. And so a lot of the
Mhm.
times, that's what I found myself doing, emotionally eating. The things that we eat, we have triggers. So when you crave something crunchy, that's the trigger from something. That could be anxiety or anger. When we crave pasta and warm things like that, stuff like that, that's a trigger. It could be from anywhere. So we have to be able to identify those things. So even when we're going throughout our day, we realize, okay, something's wrong. That's that self awareness piece. But we don't. At the time, I remember I did, and I was just like, "This is life. I'm surviving. I'm trying to pay my bills. Let's go." Right. And so throughout the day, when I was missing that self accountability, that self awareness piece, it affected everything. So when I went home after work, the first thing I need a drink. I need a drink, and so that's one of the first things I used to do is to go home and then I'm drinking alcohol. And so then now I'm tired. I had a long day. So now my family is like, oh, let's do this, let's do that. And I'm like, no, I'm tired, whatever. I'm sluggish. I go home, I fall asleep, and then I do it again the next day. And I just continue that cycle and not realizing how I've already physically harmed my body from what I was putting in it. And then on Friday nights, I'm ordering pizza and, oh, it's time to party, right? Friday and Saturday, it's time to party. So all week is stress, it's alcohol, it's toxic foods, and I'm just like going through my life cycle like this. And then I get sick. And when we get sick, again, we run to the doctor. Hey, this is what's wrong with me. Give me the pharmaceutical drugs, and I need to be good to go. So that was my life for a really long time, for almost a decade. That's how I lived.
Wow. Guys, put a number 3 in the chat, in the comments if you're learning from this. So Charmaine, what I hear you describing is what I would call, I guess, a negative downward spiral, right? So it starts as, and most of the times, guys, we don't even know where it starts, right? Because one of the things you mentioned there was self-awareness, becoming self-aware. What I took from that was becoming the cause rather than the effect. So I want you to think, how many of you viewing this right now are the effect as opposed to the cause? So being the effect means that you have to have a drink because you're compelled to have a drink, because you're triggered, like Charmaine just said. But being the cause means that you're consciously choosing, okay, this is what's best for me. If you do decide to have a drink, then you're consciously choosing, right? For whatever reason, could be, some people do it for religious reasons, to celebrate special moments, etc., etc. But you're not becoming an effect where you find yourself in this negative spiral. So, and it's just like with habits, right? When people want to quit
Right.
habits, they feel triggered.
Hmm.
So it's like I
And
want
you
to,
said something too,
yeah.
really good about traditions too. That's another thing. Traditions. We have a belief system, and that's what I start with my clients. That's where I started. We have a belief system. Identifying that belief system. Alcohol is not a celebration. You're taking days away from your life. you know. And so we think, oh well, I only drink to celebrate and things like that, but are you really celebrating? And so you have to understand, like and I used to do that also. You have to break that belief system of those traditions that you believe to be true, because a belief can hold your health hostage, your beliefs. And so if you believe certain things, that can make you or break you in your health journey.
Wow. I have to say something as well. The part about triggering, and most people don't know this, but growing up, I used to be overweight. Like growing up as a little boy, I used to be overweight, and my journey really took a twist when I asked myself why. So I know a lot of us, for example, let's say you go down to the kitchen, it's 11 p.m. at night, and you know what you say, you know what? I think it's time for a little snack, right? I think it's time for a little snack. And what really changed for me was asking myself why. Asking yourself, where are these thoughts coming from? I often tell people that we have these two little people, imaginary people on our shoulders. One of us that is, or one of them, excuse me, that is guiding us towards becoming better selves, better versions of ourselves. And then the other one who's like the all about the parties. Like, so hey Junior, I think there's a little more cake in the fridge, man. Come on, it's a Friday night. It's Christmas. Nobody will know, brother. That's you deserve something, man. You've been working so hard. Come on, brother. Let's have some fun. And then there's the other guy who says, even if it's Christmas, even if it's the holidays, maybe now's not the right time. You probably shouldn't be eating that at 11 p.m. And I think my life really changed. Just to come back to what you were saying about the self awareness, when I started to recognize and ask myself and question, where is that voice coming from? Where is that voice coming from? And it goes back into the self awareness piece that you were talking about. Now, Charmaine, I want to sort of, divert a little bit because I have so many phenomenal questions to ask you. And one of them is, how do we know what foods are optimal for our health? Because I could tell you now, guys, some of the conversations that I've had with Charmaine offline, talking about what I personally eat, and I consider myself a healthy person, I learned that they were actually not healthy. So for the layperson who's not a health expert, who's not a physician, who's none of that, how do they know what foods are actually hurting them? How can they begin to discover that?
Well, one of the first ways I always tell people is the self awareness piece. First, you want to ask yourself simple questions, things that we know it is not good for us. Write down, do you drink alcohol? Yes or no? How frequently are you drinking? Ask yourself, what foods are you eating? Do you drink dairy, cow milk, things like that? Meat, different types of meat. And so one of the things, once you do that, your stress, your environment that you're in, am I partaking in toxic or stressful activities? Manage, check your stress levels. So that's where you start at. You start there and asking yourself those questions. After you go from to asking yourself those questions, what you want to do now is do ask yourself, because I ask my clients this or people that I speak with, do you eat fruit and vegetables every day? Majority of the people that I talk to do not eat fruit every day, they do not eat vegetables, and they do not drink water every day. And so if you're not doing that, which is the bare minimum, because I don't believe, oh, stop this cold turkey and just go from there. I don't believe in that. Um, just ask yourself, are you eating and drinking fruit and vegetables and drinking water every day? That is a perfect starting point, and I tell people that because a lot of people just don't. A lot of people in the world, they don't even eat fruit, vegetables, and drink water every day. So that's a great starting point.
Very nice, very nice. So, guys, we're gonna go to a break in the next 30 seconds. But before we do, what I love for you all to do is to put one question. I know you must have at least one question for Charmaine when it comes to health. So go ahead, put a question in the comments if you do have one. And also put what is your number one takeaway thus far. All right, guys. So we'll be back in about 60 seconds. This is Breakfast with the Brand. Stay tuned. All right, guys, welcome back. This is Breakfast with a Brand, number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to go from bland to industry leading brand. And today we have Charmaine Q. Harrison. Charmaine, so we've spoken so much about, I would say, number one, self discipline, self awareness, and disease manifested in different ways. So, one question I have, because it's the holiday season,
Mhm.
for all of my people who are going shopping right now, what are some of the things that they could look out for or they should be looking out for to ensure that they get the best and highest quality food when they're shopping?
So first thing, because healthy is subjective, right? So it's like, oh, people I speak to people, they're like, oh, I'm healthy, but you want to make sure that is your definition of healthy making you feel sluggish, or is it making you feel tired, or is it giving you energy? Do you feel tired after you eat? Especially around the holidays, we tend to eat a lot of foods that um, we're very leaving us very tired or fatigued, things like that. So that's the first question. What your definition of health? Are you experiencing a lot of body pain after you eat, a lot of heartburn, things like that, that people say, oh, well, that's normal. I always, feel like this after I eat. And so if that's how you feel, that's not health, right? If you're dealing with a lot of different symptoms, body pain and heartburn and things like that, skin conditions, or you get rashes or you break out after you eat a certain thing, that's not healthy. Healthy should leave you feeling, energetic, things like that. And so one of the things that when you go to a grocery store, a lot of things say organic, a lot of things say gluten free, things like that, on the front of it. But the front is always for entertainment, because they know we're not going to turn on the back
Like
and
that.
read. You see all the ingredients, and you're not going to sit up there and Google and all that stuff, all the different ingredients. So they're going to, marketing purposes, they're going to slap a label on the front that says organic, sugar free, things like that. And so if you turn on the back of it, right, and you see canola oil, other ingredients, added sugars, added this, other preservatives, things like that, that's a sign right there that it should not go in your body. Okay, so the less ingredients on the back of things, the better. Also, if it sits on a shelf, it's probably too long. It's probably not good for you. So think about a can of green beans, right? Because we say, oh, vegetables are healthy. Think about a can of green beans. If you put a can of green beans on your counter, the expiration date is 5 years from now. Okay, but if you put a fresh green bean on your kitchen countertop, that's going to go bad. That's going to spoil because it's real.
Wow.
It's actually real. So just listening to your body, just understanding those things like that. So people may buy milk in the box cartons that's on the shelf. Why would milk, if you put a cup of milk on your countertop, it's going to spoil. It's not going to last 3 years. So it doesn't make sense putting something in your body that's going to harm your body by having all those preservative and toxins in it.
Guys, did you hear that? So basically, Charmaine, I'll be honest, when you said that, that sounded like basically the whole supermarket to me. Like, because you said if it's on a shelf, basically what you're saying, guys, if it's on a shelf in a can, I'm guessing a box as well, it's probably not good. Probably not I'll say not good, but probably not the healthiest thing that you should consume, right? So I'm sure, like, and I'm sure most people watching are wondering, well, what do I eat? Because if I don't do what's on the shelf, like what am I gonna eat? So where do you recommend people go in order to get the, I guess, the healthiest ingredients when preparing their food?
So it's and that's the thing, it's mindset, right? And so if you believe that, and we walk in the store and it's a bunch of shelves, but also there's around the market, right? There's a lot of fruit and vegetables and things like that that you can prepare and go take a look at. There's farmers markets, fresh organic farmers markets, buying things in bulk. So for me, I buy my stuff in bulk because it is a lot cheaper. So there are different avenues, but when you don't make your health a priority, then you're not going to see it. That's the biggest thing. Like your mindset is going to be on your traditions, your beliefs, what you think is supposed to be, you're healthy and good for you. And so if you start to open up your mind and realize, and that's why I always start with habits and education, like the heal and heal by nature. That's what I help people do, heal by nature. The H stands for habits and educate, achieve, accomplish, apply, action, and lifestyle, because of the simple fact that when I'm working with people, a lot of questions that I get, well, do I have to be vegan to work with you? No, you don't. Do I have to be on a special diet? Are we going to just eat fruit and vegetables? I'm like, no, we're not, And so just that understanding that healing isn't linear, it's a journey. There are going to be ups and downs and things like that is basically a game changer in itself. But there are a lot of options out there, but if you do not, have that mindset, if you feel like, oh, I have to eat bread to be full, I have to eat rice to be full, I have to, and it's nothing wrong with eating those things. It's just the ingredients and what's in them. So you can eat rice, but maybe not white rice, which has arsenic, you small traces of arsenic in it. If you eat that white rice for over 10 years, 10, 20, 30 years of white rice, how much arsenic do you think you compile in your body over time? And so you just want to make sure that when you're on your journey, that you just start looking at other ways to consume things. So maybe wild rice, maybe quinoa, things like that. So it is not just one way to do everything.
Very nice. And we're gonna come back to that in a minute. I want to get a question from Keishan. So Keishan asks, what impact does taking vitamins and supplements have on improving or maintaining good health? That's a great question.
Yes, that is an awesome question. So, first and foremost, when people ask me about vitamins, I always say get your vitamins from your fresh fruits, your greens, and things like that, even sea moss, because of the simple fact that when you go to the grocery store, GNC, any health store, right? Why do they have, ask yourself, why do they have 12 different types of vitamin D? Why is there 12 different types of vitamin C if it's all supposed to do the same thing? That's because a lot of those vitamins and supplements are synthetic. They're not real. Things like vitamin D is a hormone produced in the body. It's not something that you go out and buy and get and put in your body. Okay, so you have certain things that's vitamins that's actually hormones. So with lichen planus, with the skin condition I had, I spoke with a lot of people and they were just like, I can't go outside. I'm like, vitamin D does, is really good for your body. Go outside, get some sun, help your body produce the vitamin D. And they're like, I'm allergic to the sun. I've literally spoke with people who have said, I am allergic to the sun. I'm allergic to fruit. I'm allergic to vegetables. My doctor said I can only eat meat. And so it's like, it's mind blowing to me because it's like, that's nature, that's natural. Back in the day, our ancestors and people of that, they were doing natural remedies, and we have to get back to that. A lot of the times we ask if herbs are safe to take, but we're not asking about the pharmaceutical drugs that we're given with 50 side effects, if that's safe. And so when you think of vitamins and supplements, you can get that from fruit, vegetables, and also sea moss. You can get that from those things. And so that's going to help your body, because your body, see, we think of food and we're like, oh, I need food to survive. Your body needs minerals, your body needs vitamins, your body needs water to survive. Okay. And so when we think about it like that, you know, that kind of eliminates all the harmful things that we are putting in our body. Our body doesn't need that. My body does not need this, you know. And so when you look at it in that perspective, then it helps out a lot.
All right. That was a pretty good answer. And thank you so much for that question, Keishan. Guys, if anybody else has a question, please feel free to put it in the comments. Charmaine, I have a question, a follow-up question from Keishan's question. Now, for our people that are looking, and if you're like me, you work out. I work out almost every day, right? And I know when working out, the number one thing that we've been told is you have to get protein. And I'll be honest, like when I think of a plant, for some reason, I don't necessarily think about strength. So I don't see, I'm having a hard time, and I'm sure many people have a hard time wrapping their brains around. How can a plant give me strength? How can a fruit? I can't imagine when I think about strength, and maybe it's just me, the way that I'm thinking about it, but I think about, traditional strength, being able to lift 500 pounds or whatever, right? And I just don't see how a fruit and a vegetable can help me lift that much. So what do you say? Is it possible to have plants as your primary source of protein? And if so, what does that look like for people who are particularly going to the gym? Some people, they don't need protein, right? They're fine. They're not working out. They're probably just, jogging. And yes, they do need protein, but maybe not as much. But for somebody who's active in the gym, who's lifting weights, like what does that look like? Number one, is that even possible? And what does it look like?
Absolutely. So before I go into that answer, I want most people to think about a car. Okay. And so when you are cleansing, right? So it's called cleanse, detox, and remineralize. When you are cleansing, okay, it's like going through a car wash, taking your car through a car wash. Everybody cleans the exterior, right? That's where the waist trainers coming at. That's where the fitness, that's where all the diets coming at, things like that. Oh, I look great, you know. And so you're cleansed, but you haven't detoxed. You haven't vacuumed out the car. That's where detoxing coming at. You haven't lifted it. Have you ever, went to clean out your car and lift up the seats, and it's a whole bunch of junk under there? We're not doing that. A lot of people aren't. They're so focused on the exterior, they're not worried about the inside. And so when it comes to detoxing, that's what that looks like, vacuuming out the car, things like that. When it comes to remineralizing your body, that's where the oil change comes in. That's where you get the vitality at. That's where your organs can now do its job. Okay, it's like somebody smoking for 20 years. Okay, they're smoking for 20 years. They stop smoking, but they still have a cough. You know why they still have a cough? It's because their lungs are still filled with the junk, and a lot of people are cleansing thinking they're detoxing. They're focused on the outside and not really focused on the inside. So when you ask that question about protein, when you're going through a cleansing process or a detox process and things like that, you should not be worried about protein. I have never heard anybody say I have a protein deficiency, or anyone passed away from protein deficiency. That's one of those things that we are taught, like milk gives you strong bones. We were taught that at a young age, right? Because and when people think of protein, they think of meat and fish and eggs, right? So that's the first thing they go to. And so when you ask that question, one of the things we can do, because I've been in the gym hardcore, working out, things like that. I enjoy my fitness. Protein is a combination of amino acids. It's not a meat. It's amino acids, right? And so amino acids are going to come from plants. If you look up where amino acid comes, that comes from plants. Think about the strongest animals in the world.
True.
They don't eat meat. They're eating grass, right? And
Exactly.
so yeah, you just kind of wild rice gives you that protein. Um, the grains that is going to give you that protein. Wild rice, quinoa, that's another one. Different types of nuts, walnuts, things like that. That's going to help. Your body does not need an abundance of protein. And so when you're cleansing, no, you're getting rid of waste. When you're detoxing, you're getting rid of waste. So muscle should be the last thing, but there are abundance of plant-based bodybuilders and vegan bodybuilders who still get the job done and still go train and things like that with plant-based protein. So it's the
Very nice.
amino acids.
All right, that's interesting. That's interesting, guys. So it's not necessarily the meat; it's the amino acids. And one thing I took away was that the strongest animals on earth, they eat grass. That's pretty interesting. So we'll be back. We're gonna go to a short break. We'll be back in about 60 seconds. And when we come back, stick around because we'll be talking about some recipes that you can try. So how can you get more of that holistic and natural health all from the comfort of your kitchen? This is Breakfast with the Brand. We'll be back after the short break. or maybe not. Let's roll into it. Let's roll into it. Let's roll right into it. Um, this is good because I actually have so many questions I want to ask you, and we might have to do a second show. But Charmaine, for the people that are viewing, let's talk about the recipes. Because I know many people are asking themselves, you know, what can I do? Now, I love cooking. I'm phenomenal in the kitchen. Well, I think so, okay? Who knows? Maybe if people at my cooking, they may say something else. I don't know. But I love cooking. I love trying out stuff in the kitchen. And I'm curious, like, what are some fun and healthy recipes that we can try? Anybody can try at home. Now, I've seen you make some very interesting things. I've seen you do stuff like apparently burgers. I'm like, this is interesting. What are some really interesting and simple and fun recipes that anybody could do from the comfort of their kitchen?
Well, one of the things I do have a natural nutrition recipe guide that I provide 10 of the world's most famous foods and things like that. And so if we'll be here all day, right? But I always let people know that eating healthy does not have to be boring and bland and because that's a belief system that we've adopted over time. If you grew up in the South where I grew up, yeah, you're not gonna eating healthy. It's like, what? I'm not eating that. And so one of the perks I want to put out there of living a healthier lifestyle, eating the foods that's not gonna make you feel sluggish and give you heartburn and all these different illnesses in the body and diabetes and oh, it just runs in the family. So when you go on a healthier path, you can cook foods in under an hour. So when I work with my clients, I have them cooking full meals, right? Full meals in under an hour. And so that gives you time to spend to do what you want to do with your time, whether that's spending time with family, especially around the holidays. You're sitting in the kitchen for like 2, 3, 4 hours cooking, right? And you could be doing something else with your time. So when you eat healthier, you're able to do that. Now, some of the things that's in my recipe guide are like crabless, like croquettes or
Mm,
crab balls and scallops for seafood lovers. Because that's when I grew up, we ate a lot of rice, we ate a lot of seafood, and so I show you how to recreate that so that the food actually nourishes the body versus harming the body and it still tastes amazing. So that's one. Another thing is when you're trying to get your kids involved and break the cycles of generational illnesses and oh, I have a picky eater, my child won't eat that. You have to realize that you have to become the example. So one of the recipes that I also teach is chickenless chicken nuggets, right? For the kids, or chicken and waffles
chicken
and
nugget.
things like that. And so that's
Okay.
something I put out there. And then I call it the naughty nice cream because it's a dessert that you can actually eat guilt
Hold on,
free.
hold on, hold on, hold on. Say that. Guys, who
it's
caught that? Say that again,
It's
Charmaine. The
called
what?
the naughty nice cream, right? So it's
Naughty
perfect
nice
around the
cream.
holidays because it's ice cream. It's ice cream that you can eat at any given time, breakfast, lunch, dinner, however you want to, consume that. But you can eat it at any time and guilt free,
Really,
right?
really. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Guys, hold on. I think, did you just say, just to clarify, did you just say that you invented an ice cream that I can eat at midnight? Is that what you're saying? Can you confirm
Well,
that?
you don't want to eat it at midnight, right? You want to allow your body to fast.
Okay.
But yeah, you can eat it. You can eat it without all the guilt and shame that, my gosh, it's gonna upset my stomach, things like that. It's yeah. So
Okay.
it's awesome. And all the like I said, all these recipes are in my natural nutrition recipe guide.
Right.
Definitely.
Right. And where can we get that? Is it available on your website?
So if you actually go to, yeah, you can subscribe for free health tips on my website at www.healbynature.org. Also, you can DM me the word detox, and then I'll go ahead and make sure that you guys receive that. But yeah, it's an awesome recipe guidebook, and it just breaks the stigma that eating healthy, especially around the holidays, is just, oh, it's boring, it's bland, it's not going to taste right, I don't know, and understanding, changing that perspective.
Very nice, very nice. And guys, I want to just I just throw up the website very quickly. So this is where you can subscribe, healbynature.org. Listen, I'm gonna go and subscribe myself so I can get those recipes because I'm very interested to see exactly what do you call it, naughty nice cream.
Yeah, not an ice
Just
cream.
love the name, guys. Put some flames in the chat if you love the name. It's a very interesting and fun name. So I'm definitely gonna go check that out. But you should too go to healbynature.org to get all of those wonderful recipes. And I'm sure Charmaine has a couple other things um, that she'll be able to share with us today. Charmaine, I have
Absolutely.
one more question.
Mhm.
I have one more question. And a lot of people have been asking me, and this is something that I've noticed. And I want to ask you, is there a link between, I would say, food and spiritual growth?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. Definitely. I think one of the biggest things, an example I can use for that, I was working with a client, and one of the testimonies that she gave, she's an entrepreneur, and she was like, this was a lot more than about nutrition, and that's what I try to get across to people. The first thing a lot of people want to say is, oh, what do I eat? What do I eat? And I'm like, it's not so much about what you're eating, it's about how to get the waste in the body out. Because a lot of the times when we're jumping from this diet, I tried this diet, I tried that diet, I tried this diet, what we're ultimately doing is just filling our bodies up like a trash can, just filling our bodies up with waste, whether it's healthy or not. You know, you're filling your bodies up with a whole bunch of stuff, and so we're not releasing any of that. And when we don't release any of that, and when that stuff sits in our body, what ends up happening, that's where the brain fog comes in at. That's where the fatigue comes in at. That's where, you're an entrepreneur in your business, you can't think. You're getting pulled 12 different directions. You can't think. You don't know where, if you're going left or right. You're working, 20-hour days, and then you're falling asleep, and then even when you do sleep, you wake up and you're still fatigued throughout the day, so you go and you're like, oh, I need coffee, trying to force your body to stay up. And so all that stuff has an effect. So when I was working with a client, she, at the end of the program, she said that this was a spiritual journey. She said it was emotional, mental. She said, now when I work with clients, I can now think clearly. I'm more patient with them. And working with you, she was saying that she reevaluated her finances, right, on what she was spending her money on, in the grocery store. And so that's something that stood out to me that was really powerful. And for me also, I fast a lot. And so I teach people how to properly fast, because when you fast, there's different ways of fasting. There's different ways, people do intermittent fasting, but during the time that they're eating, they're just stuffing their faces with whatever. And it's just like that kind of defeats the purpose of it, because now you're stuffing your body between a certain amount of hours with a bunch of junk, and then I speak to some people who are vegan or vegetarian, are suffering with illnesses. And they're like, how could that be? I'm vegan, I'm vegetarian, I have these illnesses. And again, it kind of goes back to releasing the waste out of the body. And it's not just from nutrition, it's from stress, it's from trauma, it goes through all those things. So the correlation between the two is absolutely, it's powerful, and it's necessary for your growth, because if you don't grow in those different areas, then you'll stay stagnant and you'll always continue to hit a brick wall.
That's right. Wow. Guys, put some flames in the chat for Charmaine if you enjoyed the conversation this morning. I certainly have. I have so many more questions to ask you. I think moving into the new year, in fact, I would like to invite you to come back. If you do us the honor and the pleasure of coming back in the new year, because I have so many more questions to ask you. And I feel like this is a very, very important subject. But
Absolutely.
while we are getting ready to wrap up, I want you to take an opportunity to talk a little bit more about yourself and talk about what you have coming up for the new year. where people can find you, how people could connect with you. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So, and what I do in my Heal by Nature program is that I provide people with the transformation of freedom, of vitality. You know, everyone wants energy from health, but no one wants to put the energy in being healthy. And so, when I help you to break that mindset and you're able to think clearer to create in your business, you have enough energy, you have that real confidence, and a lot of the people that I work with, they get immediate results. They are losing weight within the first 6 weeks, 25 pounds. So a lot of people are like, oh, I want to lose weight. Do I need to be in the gym? I show you how to do that naturally without even stepping foot inside a gym or crash dieting or any of that. And so another thing, a lot of people that I work with, they have said, you know, they get to spend a lot more time with their family without feeling so sluggish and things like that. And then when they become the example, because I always tell people, you don't force anybody else to do anything, you become the example. Now they have family members and friends saying, oh, I want to be a part of that. You look amazing, you feel amazing, you know, they want to be a part of that. And going through everything, it's fun, you know, being the change and having people starting to notice. And so, what I'm going to do in this upcoming year, I do cleanses and detoxes with my clients. But what's going to happen is, come probably February, I'm going to open it up to the public. I'm going to open up that detox to the pub. So if you are interested, if you're a business owner or entrepreneur or military personnel, and you are trying to create your business and you're dealing with the illness and it's kind of rough and things like that, make sure that you reach out to me. You can send me the word detox. You can DM me the word detox, because I do, if you want more information on that, I am going to do the group detox after the holidays. So if you do want to jump in on that, make sure you subscribe, www.healbynature.org, so that you can get more information on that. And you can also follow me on Instagram, follow my story, my journey to healing and recovery at Charmaine_Q.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. So guys, this is the Instagram handle down here. You should be able to see more examples of our work. Also, go to www.healbynature.org. Make sure that you get that recipe book. Charmaine, I'm curious. Do you have any other, I guess, guides or any other like any things, templates or any things like that that people could use on your website? Is that also available in addition to the guide? Do you have anything else?
Absolutely. Yes. So when they subscribe to the website, they would actually get all that, all those things. They can actually book a call also, or they can just send me a message through to my DM and let me know that they're interested. And, you know, we can have a discussion or a conversation, because I would like to, for those that are serious, I like to assess because it's not a linear. Like, everybody doesn't get the same thing when it comes to their health, because everybody's on different journeys. So I have to actually speak to those people who are serious about their health, and see how I'm able to help them, so I'll know what exactly to send them.
Very nice. Very nice. All right, guys. So there you have it. We're about to wrap up. Charmaine, I want to present you the opportunity to leave us with one thing. So I want you to imagine your younger self, right? So let's go back into the past. Based on the person that you've grown into today, the knowledge, the wisdom, the understanding that you have, what is one thing, if you could only write on one single piece of paper and mail it to your former self, what is one key piece of advice that you would give to her?
I would say, choose life, choose to live, and choose to heal.
Excellent. Guys, thank you so much. This has been Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to go from bland to industry leading brand. Have a phenomenal day. Thank you very much.